fellow Naval Postgraduate School Toastmasters, esteemed guest George, and our distinguished Toastmaster, my mentor, my former professor, and I hope after this evaluation, still my friend. Thank you for a wonderful story. I thought you presented it in an outstanding manner. Now, this is a story that's from the Advanced Manual for Storytelling. It's the third of 5 speeches that come from the manual. And Arnie's expected to build on the first 2 speeches, a folk tale and a personal sort of speech, and tell a story with a moral. And there are 3 objectives. It should be entertaining, yet deliver that moral. It should be, and here the manual is not clear, original, but it can be based on an existing story and use the same moral. And of course, as I said, he builds on his prior work as a competent communicator along with his efforts through here. Now, the first thing I'll point out is Arnie is an ancient Toastmaster with an ancient manual. And you might have noticed that he was extending his speech at the end to meet the time requirement, because his book has a different time requirement than Easy Speak gave to our illustrious timer. So the 4 to 6 minute speech that Arnie prepared and delivered had to fit into a 5 to 7 minute time window. And so that was a challenge. And so I would point out to all of us, make sure that there is a match between your manual and the time that's on the agenda, and that there's no misunderstanding. Arnie had a strong opening, and he opened as if he were telling a folk tale, because he based the story on a Chinese folk tale, and which is found in many forms in other cultures. And I thought it was a compelling way to get our attention and to open. He was simple and clear. He had all those elements of a story that we'd expect: the plot, the setting, the character, and the action. His vocal variety was marvelous. And then his twist was actually the moral. So I don't know whether it's a misfortune or a blessing or both that I'm evaluating, but I do want to give him some areas for improvement. I think you could have made your pauses longer and more dramatic. And I will try to illustrate that. I'm sure you know how. I think that you could have been a little more original as you adapted the story. And I think that if you were to do this again, you might want to add a little more originality, because it's strong. It bears a strong resemblance to the folktale. But what I would really love to see is, rather than telling us again and again and again how poor he is, illustrated. So say once he's poor, and then compare how poor he is even to the poor people in the village. The size of their family, the size of their fields, those things like that. And throughout, there were places where you could have illustrated the details instead of repeating what you said. But overall, this was a magnificent offering. Thank you, Arnie.